The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved in and out of its docking bays like insects around a hive. Inside the station, hundreds of different alien species walked through the wide corridors, trading goods, sharing information, and conducting business. The air smelled of strange spices and exotic foods. Sounds of alien languages mixed together in a constant buzz of conversation. Bright lights from shop signs cast colorful shadows on the metal walls. This was one of the busiest trading stations in the galaxy, a place where anyone could find anything they needed. Moving through the crowd was a creature that did not belong with the peaceful traders. Kresh stood over 6 feet tall, his dark green skin covered in natural armor plates. His arms ended in hands that could extend razor-sharp claws with just a thought. His yellow eyes could see in almost complete darkness and spot movement from incredible distances. His large ears picked up sounds that most other species could not hear. Kresh was a Vorthek, and his people were known throughout the galaxy as the ultimate hunters. They did not hunt for food or survival. They hunted intelligent beings for sport, for the thrill of the chase, for the pride of bringing down prey that could think and plan and fight back. For 3 hours, Kresh had been walking through the station, studying every creature he passed. His enhanced senses analyzed each potential target, measuring their strength, speed, and intelligence. His mental database told him about their homeworlds, their natural abilities, and their weaknesses. A group of tall, thin aliens with blue skin walked past. Kresh's scanner identified them as Altarians. They were fast but fragile, with hollow bones like birds. Too easy to break, he decided. There would be no challenge in hunting them. Next, he spotted a pack of furry, bear-like creatures near a weapons shop. His scanner called them Graxians. They were strong and tough, with thick claws and powerful muscles, but they traveled in groups and protected each other fiercely. Hunting one would mean fighting all of them. Too dangerous for a solo hunt. Kresh continued his search, moving through the crowd with practiced silence. His natural camouflage ability let him blend into shadows and corners, becoming nearly invisible when he chose. Other aliens walked past him without noticing his presence, unaware that a predator was studying them. He paused near a small cafe area where different species sat at tables, eating food and drinking various liquids. His keen eyes scanned each table, looking for the perfect prey. Someone alone, someone vulnerable. Someone who would provide an interesting challenge without being impossibly difficult to catch. At a corner table sat a single figure, quietly reading something on a small electronic device. Kresh moved closer, staying in the shadows, and activated his biological scanner. The device hummed quietly as it analyzed the creature. The readout appeared in his mind. Species: human, height, average, weight, average. Homeworld: Earth, a small planet in an unremarkable solar system. Physical abilities: no enhanced strength, speed, or senses. No natural weapons like claws or fangs. No armor plating or protective features. Kresh felt a surge of excitement. This was exactly what he had been looking for. According to his database, humans were a newly discovered species. They had only recently developed space travel and were still rare in this part of the galaxy. The file contained very little information about them, which meant they were not considered important or dangerous by the galactic community. The human appeared to be male. Based on the body structure, he had dark hair and pale skin. He wore simple clothes that looked comfortable but provided no protection. On the table in front of him was a cup of some dark liquid, probably a stimulant drink popular among many species. What made this target perfect was that he was completely alone. No guards, no companions, no pack to defend him. Just one isolated creature sitting quietly and reading, unaware that death was watching him from the shadows. Kresh studied the human more carefully. The male appeared to be middle-aged, neither young enough to be inexperienced nor old enough to be wise to danger. He moved with the casual confidence of someone who had never been hunted before. His people must come from a safe world, Kresh thought, where they had never learned to fear predators. The human took a sip from his cup and turned a page on his reading device. His movements were slow and relaxed. He showed no sign of awareness that anything was wrong. His heartbeat, which Kresh could hear with his enhanced senses, was steady and calm. Perfect prey indeed. Kresh had hunted dozens of species across the galaxy. He had learned that the best hunts came from creatures who thought they were safe, who had never experienced real danger. When such creatures finally realized they were being hunted, their panic made them make mistakes. They ran in the wrong direction, they froze with fear, they made noise that helped him track them. This human would be no different. Kresh could already imagine how the hunt would unfold. He would approach slowly, letting the human sense his presence. Just before the strike, he would see the fear in those strange eyes, hear the rapid heartbeat of pure terror. Then it would be over quickly, another successful hunt to add to his collection. But first, he needed to get closer. The cafe area was too public, too many witnesses. He would wait for the human to finish his drink and leave, then follow him to a quieter area of the station. Somewhere with fewer security cameras and fewer other aliens who might interfere, Kresh settled into a dark corner where he could watch his chosen prey without being seen. His camouflage ability made him blend perfectly with the shadows. He controlled his breathing and heartbeat, becoming as still as a statue. All he had to do now was wait for the perfect moment to begin the hunt. The human continued reading, completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. 20 minutes passed before the human finally moved. He finished his drink and closed his reading device, placing both items carefully on the table. Kresh watched as the human stood up slowly, stretching his arms above his head. The movement was casual and unhurried. Showing no concern for possible danger, the human walked away from the cafe, heading toward the quieter sections of the station. Kresh smiled, showing his sharp teeth. This was exactly what he had hoped for. The prey was moving away from the crowded areas where other aliens might interfere with his hunt. Kresh activated his camouflage and began following. His footsteps made no sound on the metal floor. His breathing was silent. Years of hunting had taught him to move like a ghost, invisible and undetectable. He stayed about 30 feet behind his target, far enough to remain hidden but close enough to strike when the moment was right. The human walked through several corridors, past shops selling strange alien goods and restaurants serving food from dozens of different worlds. He seemed to be in no hurry, stopping occasionally to look at items in shop windows or read signs posted on walls. To Kresh, this behavior confirmed that the human felt completely safe. Finally, the human turned into a quieter section of the station. Here, the corridors were dimmer and fewer aliens walked around. This area contained mostly storage rooms and maintenance areas. Perfect for a hunt where no one would interfere, Kresh began to close the distance. His enhanced muscles tensed as he prepared for the attack. His claws extended slightly, ready to strike. All his senses focused on his target. The human was walking straight ahead, still showing no awareness of the danger behind him, but something was wrong. As Kresh got closer, his sensitive hearing picked up the human's heartbeat. It should have been faster now, showing stress or fear. Prey animals always sensed danger, even when they could not see or hear the predator. Their heart rates increased, their breathing became shallow, their movements became nervous. The human's heartbeat was steady and calm, exactly the same as it had been in the cafe. His breathing was deep and regular. His footsteps were confident and sure. This was unusual, but Kresh decided the human was simply too inexperienced to recognize danger. Kresh moved closer, now only 15 feet behind his prey. His camouflage was perfect, bending light around his body to make him nearly invisible. His movements were silent and smooth. No creature in the galaxy should be able to detect him when he was this careful. The human continued walking. But something about his movement changed. It was subtle, something that most predators would miss. But Kresh had been hunting for many years, and he noticed when his prey's behavior shifted. The human's head turned slightly, just enough to use his peripheral vision. His pace remained the same, but his posture became more alert. Kresh froze. Had the human somehow detected him? That was impossible. His camouflage was perfect, his stealth was flawless. No prey animal should be able to sense his presence. The human stopped walking. He turned around slowly, looking directly at the spot where Kresh was hiding. For a moment the two stared at each other, predator and prey locked in a silent confrontation. Then, the human spoke. His voice was calm and conversational, showing no fear or surprise. Most predators I've encountered have better instincts than this. Kresh's camouflage flickered and failed. His natural invisibility broke down under the shock of being discovered. How was this possible? No prey animal had ever spotted him when he was using full stealth. His mind raced, trying to understand what had gone wrong. The human continued to look at him with those strange eyes. There was no panic, no terror, no desperate attempt to run. Instead, the human seemed almost bored, as if being stalked by a deadly predator was a minor inconvenience. "Your species is Vorthek, right?" the human said, his tone remaining conversational. "Apex predators from the Rigel system. I read about your kind in the xenobiology reports." Kresh's shock deepened. How did this creature know about his species? How did it know where he came from? The human database had contained almost no information about these aliens, but somehow this one knew detailed facts about Vorthek biology and culture. The human took a step closer, and Kresh found himself backing away. This was wrong. Everything about this situation was wrong. He was the predator. He was the one who should be advancing. The prey should be running, screaming, begging for mercy, but the human showed no fear. Instead, there was something in his eyes that made Kresh's survival instincts fire warning signals. It was a look that said this creature was dangerous, that it had dealt with threats before, that it was not impressed by claws and fangs and superior strength. "You've been circling me for 20 minutes, the human continued. "Following me through?" "The station, waiting for the right moment to strike." "Very predictable behavior for your species." Kresh's mouth opened and closed without making sound. How had this prey animal known it was being hunted? How had it remained so calm? How did it know so much about Vorthek hunting patterns? The human reached into his jacket, a simple movement that somehow carried tremendous threat. Kresh's enhanced senses detected metal beneath the fabric, something hard and angular that did not belong to normal civilian clothing. "You know what the problem is with hunting humans?" the human asked, his hand resting on whatever was hidden in his jacket. "You're thinking like a predator hunting prey." But humans stopped being prey animals a long time ago. Kresh felt something he had never experienced before. Fear, real, deep, bone-chilling fear. Not the excitement of a challenging hunt, but the terror of realizing that he had made a terrible mistake. The human's eyes never left his face. Those strange, calm eyes that showed no fear, no panic, no weakness. Only a quiet confidence that was somehow more frightening than any roar of challenge. "We learned something important during our evolution," the human said softly. "The best way to stop being prey is to become something that preys on predators." Jake Collins pulled out his reading device and set it down on a nearby maintenance crate. He moved slowly and deliberately, each action carefully measured. To Kresh, every movement seemed to carry hidden meaning, like a predator marking its territory. "Let me tell you something about humans," Jake said, his voice still calm and conversational. "We're not the strongest species in the galaxy. We're not the fastest or the smartest. We don't have natural weapons like your claws or enhanced senses like your hearing." Kresh backed away another step. His powerful legs, designed for pouncing and running, felt weak and unsteady. This was not how hunts were supposed to go. The prey should be running by now, screaming in terror, making the mistakes that would lead to their death. "But we have something else," Jake continued. "We have experience. For millions of years, everything on our planet tried to kill us. Big cats with teeth like knives, bears twice your size, snakes with poison that could drop us in seconds. We were prey for so long that we learned things other species never had to learn." Jake's hand remained on whatever was hidden in his jacket. Kresh's enhanced senses could detect the metallic object clearly now, but he could not identify what. The smell was wrong for any weapon he knew about. The shape was unfamiliar. This worried him more than if he had recognized a standard plasma rifle or energy blade. "We learned how to read body language," Jake said. "How to spot threats before they became dangerous. How to think like predators so we could avoid them. And eventually how to think like predators so we could hunt them back." Kresh's throat felt dry. His species had rules for hunting, traditions that went back thousands of years. Honor codes that demanded fair chase and clean kills. They hunted for sport, for the thrill of the challenge, for the pride of bringing down worthy prey. But, looking into this human's eyes, Kresh saw something different. There was no sport here, no thrill-seeking, no code of honor. There was only the cold calculation of a creature that had learned to kill because not killing meant death. "Your species hunts for fun," Jake observed, as if reading Kresh's thoughts. "You have rituals and ceremonies? You celebrate successful hunts. You keep trophies, it's all very civilized." Jake took a step forward, and Kresh immediately stepped back. The role reversal was complete now. The predator was retreating while the prey advanced. "Humans don't hunt for fun," Jake said quietly. "We hunt for survival, and that makes us very, very dangerous." Kresh's mind raced, trying to understand how this situation had gone so wrong. According to every piece of information he had, humans were weak, new to space travel, and completely harmless. They should have been perfect prey. "You want to know how I spotted you?" Jake asked. "It wasn't your camouflage. That's actually quite impressive. It was your breathing pattern. You were trying to stay silent, but you were also excited about the hunt. Your breath was slightly faster than normal, and you exhaled just a little too long every fourth breath. It's a common mistake among ambush predators." Kresh felt his confidence crumble. This human had not only detected him, but had analyzed his hunting technique and found it flawed. No prey animal should possess such knowledge. "Then there was your movement pattern," Jake continued. "You stayed exactly 30 feet behind me, which is optimal striking distance for your species. But you maintained that distance too precisely. A truly skilled stalker would vary the distance, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, to avoid creating a pattern." The human's analysis was completely accurate. Kresh had been taught these exact techniques by his hunting masters. But somehow, this supposedly primitive creature had identified and countered them. "But the real mistake," Jake said, "was choosing to hunt a human at all." Jake's hand moved slightly inside his jacket, and Kresh caught a glimpse of advanced technology. Not the crude weapons he had expected from a primitive species, but something sleek and sophisticated, something that looked military in design. "See, when humans left Earth and started meeting other species, we didn't just bring trade goods and diplomatic messages," Jake explained. "We brought soldiers. People trained to fight and kill and survive in hostile environments. People who had spent their whole lives learning how to deal with things that wanted to eat them." Kresh's database suddenly provided new information about the human in front of him. Not just any human, but a specific individual with a military record. Jake Collins, former Marine, 3 tours of duty in the Outer Rim conflicts, decorated veteran, with extensive combat experience. "You picked the wrong human to hunt," Jake said simply. "But honestly, there isn't a right human to hunt. We're all dangerous in our own ways. The scientist will poison you, the engineer will build a trap, the diplomat will talk you into surrendering. The farmer will use tools you never imagined as weapons." Jake's eyes never left Kresh's face. Those strange eyes that showed no fear, no anger, no hatred. Only a calm professional assessment, like a technician evaluating a broken machine. "Your species sees hunting as art," Jake continued. "You appreciate the beauty of a perfect stalk, the elegance of a clean kill. But humans see hunting as work. Necessary work that needs to be done efficiently and completely." Kresh realized with growing horror that he was no longer the predator in this situation. Somehow, without him noticing, the roles had reversed completely. He was now the prey, and this human was the hunter. "So here's what's going to happen," Jake said, his voice taking on a harder edge. "You're going to walk away. You're going to leave this station. And you're going to spread the word to every other Vorthek in the galaxy that humans are off the hunting list. The threat was clear, even though Jake had never raised his voice or made any aggressive gestures. Kresh understood that his life now depended on the mercy of a creature he had intended to kill for sport. Kresh's claws retracted automatically, his body responding to the overwhelming sense of danger. Every instinct told him to run, but his legs would not obey. Fear had frozen him in place, something that had never happened to him before in all his years of hunting. Jake reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It was black and angular, covered in buttons and switches that Kresh did not recognize. The human held it casually, but Kresh could see the practiced way his fingers rested on the controls. This was not a tool he had just picked up. This was something he knew how to use very well. "This is a standard human military scanner," Jake explained, his voice still calm and educational. "It's been recording everything about you for the past 10 minutes. Your heart rate, your breathing pattern, your body temperature, even the chemical composition of your sweat." Kresh felt a chill run down his spine. He had been analyzed and cataloged like a specimen in a laboratory. The human had been studying him just as carefully as he had been studying potential prey. "Your species has excellent camouflage," Jake continued, "but you still give off heat. You still have a heartbeat. You still breathe. Human technology is very good at detecting things that try to hide." Jake pressed a button on the device and a small screen lit up. Even from several feet away, Kresh could see a detailed outline of his own body displayed on the screen. The scanner had tracked his every movement, recorded his exact location, and analyzed his physical condition. "I knew you were following me before you even left the cafe," Jake said. "I watched you select me as your target. I saw you activate your camouflage. I tracked you through 3 different corridors using nothing but this little device." The human's words hit Kresh like physical blows. His perfect stealth, his flawless hunting technique, his superior predator instincts, all of it had been useless against human technology and human experience. "But here's the really interesting part," Jake said, adjusting something on the scanner. "This device isn't just for detection, it's also a weapon." Jake's thumb moved to a red button on the side of the device. Kresh's enhanced senses detected a subtle change in the electromagnetic field around them. The air itself seemed to hum with barely contained energy. "Human weapons aren't designed for sport," Jake explained. "They're designed for war, for killing enemies quickly and efficiently. This little scanner can emit a focused electromagnetic pulse that would shut down your nervous system in about 2 seconds." Kresh's breathing became rapid and shallow. His species had advanced technology, but they focused on hunting tools and stealth equipment. They had never needed to develop weapons specifically designed to kill other intelligent beings. Their claws and fangs were sufficient for hunting prey, but humans had spent their entire history fighting each other as well as other predators. They had developed weapons that could kill at any distance in any environment against any opponent. "The pulse wouldn't kill you immediately," Jake continued, his tone remaining conversational. "But it would paralyze you completely. Then I could take my time deciding what to do with you." Jake's free hand moved to another pocket in his jacket. Kresh caught a glimpse of something metallic and sharp. A knife, but not like any blade he had ever seen. The metal was dark and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "This is a combat knife," Jake said, pulling the weapon partially out of its sheath. "The blade is made from compressed carbon nanotubes. It can cut through your natural armor like it was paper. Very useful for close-quarters combat." Kresh realized that this human was not just armed with advanced technology. He was also carrying primitive weapons that were somehow more frightening than energy rifles or plasma cannons. There was something personal about a knife, something that suggested this human was prepared to kill with his own hands. "But you know what the scariest part is?" Jake asked, returning the knife to its sheath. "I'm not even a soldier anymore. I'm just a civilian now, working as a cargo inspector for the station authority. Most humans you meet out here are much more dangerous than I am." The implications of this statement terrified Kresh. If this was what human civilians were like, what would their actual military be capable of? What kind of species produced such dangerous individuals as ordinary citizens? The thing about humans, Jake said, is that we don't just adapt to dangerous situations, we create them. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years against our own species and against everything else that threatened us. We've gotten very good at it. Jake pressed another button on his scanner, and Kresh heard a soft beeping sound. The device was transmitting information, sending data about this encounter to someone else. I'm sending your biometric data to station. Security, Jake explained. They'll flag you as a potential threat. If you try to hunt anyone else on this station, they'll know about it before you even start. Kresh felt trapped, not just by the humans' weapons, but by the entire system of surveillance and communication that humans had built. They had created a network of information sharing that made hunting almost impossible. Your species hunts alone, Jake observed. You rely on stealth and surprise, but humans hunt in groups. We share information, coordinate our efforts, and support each other. When you decided to hunt me, you were actually challenging our entire species. The human's words were true. Kresh had thought he was facing a single, isolated prey animal. Instead, he had somehow declared war on an entire civilization of predators who had spent millennia learning how to kill anything that threatened them. So let me make this very clear, Jake said, his voice dropping to a whisper that was somehow more threatening than any shout. You're going to leave this station, you're going to go home, and you're going to tell every other Vorthak that humans are not prey? The human's eyes held a promise of violence that made Kresh's blood run cold. This was not sport or ceremony. This was the threat of complete annihilation delivered by a creature that had the tools and knowledge to carry it out. Kresh found himself nodding before he could stop himself. The simple gesture felt like defeat, like surrender to a superior predator. Everything he had believed about hunting, about his place in the galactic food chain, had been shattered in a matter of minutes. Jake put away his scanner and knife, but kept his hands visible. The movements were slow and deliberate, showing that he was not planning an immediate attack. But Kresh could see the readiness in those movements, the constant preparation for violence that marked a true warrior. Good choice, Jake said quietly. I was hoping you would be smart enough to recognize when you're outmatched. Jake turned and began walking away, but stopped after a few steps. He looked back over his shoulder, and Kresh saw something in those eyes that chilled him to the bone. It was not anger or hatred. It was the cold calculation of a creature deciding whether to kill now or save the effort for later. One more thing, Jake said. When you tell your people about this, make sure you get the details right. Tell them that humans aren't just dangerous because of our weapons or our technology. Tell them we're dangerous because we think differently. Jake faced forward again and continued walking. His pace was unhurried, confident. He moved like someone who had never doubted his ability to handle any threat. As he disappeared around a corner, Kresh realized he was holding his breath. For several minutes, Kresh stood frozen in the empty corridor. His powerful legs shook with delayed shock. His enhanced senses, which had served him so well in countless hunts, now felt like liabilities. They had detected every detail of his encounter with the human, recorded every moment of his humiliation. Slowly, Kresh began moving toward the docking bays where his ship waited. Each step felt heavy, like he was carrying a great weight. Other aliens moved past him in the corridors, but he barely noticed them. His hunting instincts, once so sharp and focused, seemed dulled and confused. At the security checkpoint, Kresh showed his identification to a bored-looking alien guard. The scanner beeped, and the guard waved him through without interest. But Kresh noticed something new on the screen. A small red mark appeared next to his name, some kind of warning flag that had not been there before. The human had been telling the truth. Station security now knew about him, knew that he was potentially dangerous. His reputation as a hunter might protect him from other species, but it would also mark him as a threat wherever he went. Kresh reached his ship and activated the boarding sequence. The familiar hum of his vessel's engines should have been comforting, but instead it felt like the sound of retreat. He had come to this station as a proud predator, confident in his abilities and status. He was leaving as something else entirely. As his ship undocked from the station, Kresh activated his communication system. The face of another Vorthok appeared on the screen, one of his hunting companions from his homeworld. "Kresh," the other hunter said with excitement, "how goes the hunt? Have you found suitable prey on this station?" Kresh stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. How could he explain what had happened? How could he tell his fellow hunters that he had been outmatched by a creature they had dismissed as harmless? "Cancel the expedition," Kresh said finally. "Do not come to this sector." His companion's expression changed to confusion. "What? Why? Have the authorities interfered? Are there too many security forces?" "No," Kresh replied. "It's the humans. They're not what we thought they were." "Humans?" His companion laughed. "Those weak little creatures from the outer rim? What could they possibly do to threaten a Vorthok hunter?" Kresh closed his eyes, remembering the calm confidence in Jake's voice, the casual way he had displayed weapons that could kill without effort. "They're not prey," he said quietly. "They're predators who learn to hunt by being hunted." The laughter died on his companion's face. "That's impossible. Our intelligence reports show they have no natural weapons, no enhanced abilities. They're barely past primitive space travel." "Intelligence reports can be wrong," Kresh said. "I encountered one of them today. He detected my presence despite perfect camouflage. He knew our hunting patterns better than we do. He was armed with weapons designed specifically for killing, not sport." Kresh's companion leaned forward, studying his face through the communication link. "You're serious? You actually retreated from a human?" "I retreated from something that would have killed me if I had been foolish enough to attack," Kresh corrected. "This human was a soldier trained for war, but he told me that most humans are even more dangerous than he is." The other Vorthok was quiet for a moment, processing this information. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we add humans too." "The Forbidden Prey list," Kresh said. "Mark their territory as off-limits for hunting. Send a warning to all Vorthok vessels to avoid contact with human ships." "The Council will demand proof," his companion said. "They won't accept such restrictions based on the word of one hunter who claims to have been frightened by prey." Kresh felt anger flare in his chest, but it was overwhelmed by the memory of fear. "Then tell the Council this: humans are the species that survived being prey long enough to become the ultimate predators. They don't hunt for sport or honor. They hunt to survive, and that makes them more dangerous than anything we've ever encountered." Kresh ended the communication and set course for his homeworld. During the long journey through space, he would have time to prepare his report for the Vorthok Council. He would tell them about human technology, human tactics, and human psychology, but most importantly, he would tell them about the look in Jake's eyes. The calm, cold assessment of a creature that had measured him and found him wanting. The look of a predator who had decided for now to let him live. Kresh understood now that humans had given him a gift. Not mercy, but a warning. They were announcing their presence in the galaxy, making it clear that they would not tolerate being hunted. The message was simple: we are not prey anymore.